Morning and welcome to Thoughts and Updates. It is very early morning, dawn, just after, here in sunny Kirkintilloch in Scotland, and it's absolutely freezing. Summer is well gone, well past, and I don't even think that my coffee this morning is going to last for the whole time that I record this, because it is so cold. Summer's definitely gone. Not that we have much of a summer in Scotland on a regular annual basis. It normally happens on a Tuesday and it's normally raining, but here we are. Lockdown. I am still at the house. Lockdown is happening. It's now been extended across the whole of Scotland. It's a difficult time. The rise in coronavirus cases has topped even during the time that we were completely and utterly locked down, way in March and beyond. So with only 99 people in hospital because of COVID in Scotland, that would suggest that it's the track and trace, it's the fact that we are finding more people, and that therefore Donald Trump has a point in terms of if you test lots of people, you're going to find more and more cases. But the difference between what Donald Trump has claimed and what we've got over here is that our track and trace system is actually managing to catch people and treat people, and it's not leading to significant deaths in Scotland. We have a very different method of doing lockdown in Scotland than we have in England, mainly because I think that we have, and you see this in the way in which the First Minister and the Prime Minister addressed the nation during the week in order to inform them of the new conditions, of the new measures and regulations and laws that are going to be in place for lockdown. Whereas the Prime Minister was very much a stitch in time saves nine and bizarre kind of almost Churchillian call to arms to defeat the virus. The Scottish First Minister was, by the end of it, her peroration, her last 5 or so, a minute or so, was all about we're in this together, let's work together and let's get it sorted, and therefore there's a collective view within our country, that is Scotland, that what we need to do is we need to work together. It's hard when we have people in lockdown, and I know my niece is up in Aberdeen stuck in a room having gone to university, and it's a difficult one as well because students have gone back to university, gone to halls of residence, and within a week they're being told that they've got to stay in there. All of their lessons are online, so why did they travel all this way to get to somewhere in order to be stranded? I can understand their anger and their fury, but this is a very much evolving situation. And in my own work, because we work with children in care and we look after them in our houses, it's a 24/7 issue. Staff will become ill, staff will find themselves isolated at home because of COVID-19. And we've already seen people that we know who have been contacted by track and trace because a family member has been in contact with somebody and they're having to self-isolate. So the battle is back, and it's tough. So this week I'm a bit behind in the old writing game, but that should be resolved today. I've been looking, and I think one of the reasons for that is I've been contemplating and thinking a lot about a lot of things over the past 7 days, which looking forward, looking into the future, it's been a week of contemplation. I see in Ringside Report some fantastic work that's been done by other writers, some great stuff, and for me I've been looking back at Rocky Graziano, not Rocky Marciano but Rocky Graziano. What a fantastic story, made into an Oscar-winning film, of course. So that will be finished off today and sent off to Brad. Also, Mr. Trump talks to a Chinaman. What's that all about? The Cold War, the President Xi versus President Trump, just utter nonsense. Picking fights that don't have to be picked. But then again, what does that hide? I'll come back to that in a moment. Also, for Talking Boys, obviously the flashback, fast forward and future history. What an unbelievable win last night for Josh Taylor. Difficult in the first round. A sickening body shot to the liver. Guy went down. The TIE fighter who came with a lot of promise. And it showed that promise the first couple of minutes of the fight. The only couple of minutes of the fight that really was competitive until at 2 minutes 41, bang, Taylor dropped him. When you listen to Carl Frampton and David Hay in the studio, casting doubt upon the effect that body shot had being the effect that they saw, it's kind of difficult to take the TIE fighter serious like Kong Song, but hopefully he's okay. And that's the other thing that has to be remembered, of course, it's a combat sport. Then we have the ludicrous idea that boxing is going to be saved by Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor versus Manny Pacquiao. In a normal year, in a normal way, I was quite enthralled by McGregor's fight against Floyd Mayweather. I came round to it because I thought it was adding something. It did. McGregor did himself a lot of justice in that fight, and I don't think he gets the credit that he always deserves for that. But Pacquiao with a world title on the line, it's not necessarily something that I would see that the alphabet suit of the WBA, I think it is, not the WBO, should sanction, but we will see. It's good in this time when things are kind of difficult to have that in your head, not as a fantasy fight, not as a saviour of boxing, but yet another thing to chat and talk about, which keeps things relevant. In football, for Scottish Football Supporters Association, I've been looking at who's going to survive this. If there are no crowds in Scottish football stadia from now until way round in March and April, I don't know who's going to survive this. Your Elgin cities are being supported by their big neighbours in Ross County, and the chairman there, Roy McGregor, has offered to pay for COVID tests for lower league clubs, and I think that kind of combination of the big boys, those who have benefited from the way in which the football is structured within Scotland, and those in the lesser leagues, is a way forward. I hope that my own club, Ayr United, is going to survive it, and this is where it is time for people to stop being so obnoxious about our owner Lachlan Cameron. I know Lachlan, and I know he has the club at his heart. If it's not for Lachlan, we don't have a club. And I've said this countless times before, I've written this countless times before. Lachlan Cameron saved Ayr, and he's continued to save Ayr. And I really do hope that we don't end up in the Premiership because we end up with only one league in Scotland, because a whole load of other clubs just disappear. It's our national game and it's important to retain it. And I think 42 clubs, financially, if they can survive, should be there. Nothing in theatre this week. And again, reflection. We're now back into some kind of lockdown. It looks as though more online stuff is going to have to happen rather than us putting up there something that will happen in a theatre, even socially distanced theatre. It looks very unlikely. So, with all of that being in the pipeline in order to write about, what have I learned this week? I've learned this week that statesmanship should come with a cost to yourself. So if you're asked about peaceful transition, should you lose an election, what you should say as a statesman is, of course there will be. Who would consider it wouldn't be? If the country that I serve is likely to decide that I am no longer the person that they want to lead it, that it should be time for me to accept the will of the people, because I serve the will of the people, and hand over power to who they have chosen in my stead. Republicans like Mitt Romney and others have come out and said, yes, absolutely, that this is what should happen. Whereas President Trump has been, at best, circumspect, at worst, downright obstructive. And I hope that should Joe Biden win, which I sincerely hope he shall, that all the bluff of Donald J. Trump is exactly that. And he does in the handover of the presidency to somebody who deserves the honour. And the American people the respect by handing over in a way that befits his office and the country that he has attempted to lead and failed to so do for 4 years. I hope he does what he does in his business dealings and fails. Somebody put up, I don't know how true this is, that if he'd put all his money in a bank when he inherited it from his father, he would have earned more money than he did with all his business dealings and all his failed businesses. I hope that what we get is the new phase for the United States of America. New opportunity, new possibilities, and the healing. What's happening and the fires that have been lit in the bushes as well in the cities is the consequence of refusing to understand something, and that is that Black Lives Matter, and so does the ecology of your own country. So, November the 4th, I hope and I trust, leading to an inauguration in January, shall be a new truth, a new beginning, a new hope. It's all over to those who have it in their hands and their ballots, and I trust and hope that they will vote wisely. So until next week, as the sun is not across the Yardarm, but is coming up in God's own country, bye for now.